And welcome to the podcast that is less interested in inverting your fullbacks and more interested in your Route 1 counter-attacks. It's the big man up top.
Of course it is. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Ed. How are you?
Oh, you know what? Not bad. Not bad. In fact, I'm doing really well. Please welcome Mr. Joel Brown from UCB1.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. This is an honour to be a part of. I've loved the pod since early doors, and it's been my bread and butter the last couple of days. So thank you so much.
Bread and butter.
Thank you so much.
I like that. Well, it's good to have you here. Joel, tell us about what you do as a day job.
So I am part of the UCB1 team. I'm part of the presenter team. I present the show that is called The Evening Mix. It goes on Monday to Friday, 7 till 10 p.m. And I absolutely love it. Loads of interviews and just loads of music, chat. I don't really get the chance to chat about football too much though, so I'm excited to kind of just sort of spread my wings and allow it to push the boat out a bit. I'm excited.
And we heard you just the other day when we were talking about what teams we support, and
yes,
you mentioned your affinity to the Blues.
Yes, I'm a Chelsea fan, and so apart from quite recently, that's been something afterwards. I said, which is painful at the moment, and that gets a laugh. But actually, it's like we're actually playing. I don't know if we're playing good football. We're getting good results though. Cole Palmer for president, really. Get him involved.
Well, yeah. We're going to come on to chat a bit about Chelsea today.
Yes.
But first of all, Joe,
I
thought we could start with the trivia.
Early doors.
Early doors.
Let's
I know.
do it. Straight out the gate.
Straight out the gate.
Brentford style.
We're going to mix it up a little bit. For those of you who have not listened to this podcast before, this is Bible Ballers / Testament Top Bins / whatever else you want to call it.
Got any thoughts of names, Joel?
Honestly, it has been keeping me up late at night. Because I hear you guys every time. You're like, look, if you've got any suggestions, and I was like, I'd love to be able to bring something to the pod. Nothing as of now, but I'm going to get to thinking right now, and I'll shout up if I get anything.
Well, how this works is I'm going to test the guys this week by asking them to guess the player. The difference is the first name of this player will also be the name of a book of the Bible. Are you feeling confident, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I've got 100% record so far, haven't I? I do, yeah.
I thought you'd got one wrong.
No. I've got 3 out of 3.
Okay, well, fair enough. Joel, how's your football trivia?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to rely heavily on Joe here. So I've been nothing but impressed on the last couple of podcasts, hearing just I don't know where he pulls some of this stuff from, but it's brilliant. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold a candle to it, but I'm here to get involved.
I'm
happy.
Stuff.
I'm excited.
He knows his stuff, does our Joe. So are you ready?
I am.
There have only been 5 outfield players to play every minute of a season for a Premier League title-winning side in a title-winning year. They are Gary Pallister, Wes Morgan, Cesar Azpilicueta, Branislav Ivanovic, and which other player?
Oh, come on.
So I'm going to say that again. So there have only ever been 5 outfield players to play every minute of a title-winning season. They are Gary Pallister, Wes Morgan, Cesar Azpilicueta, Branislav Ivanovic, and which other player?
Are we working together on this, or are we against each other?
Well, no, I think you can work together on this. Yeah.
Should have a bit of conferring. Well, I'm immediately thinking.
Talk me through your working.
Well, my mind's immediately gone to John O'Shea, and that doesn't feel right.
No,
because I don't think he would have played every minute.
Well, I was thinking something maybe a little bit more recent with me, like one of the City sides. Like Rodri screamed to me straight away, but at the same time, that's not Pep. Like he's not. I don't think he's gonna make any.
Not in the Bible, is it?
It's also not in the Bible.
Book of Rodri.
Yeah. There should be one.
There should be one.
Well, I'm going to give you guys the rest of the episode to think it through.
Ed, another weekend full to the brim of Premier League action.
Absolutely massive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Goals galore this weekend.
Some cracking goals as well. Chelsea, first half, 6 goals, 4-2.
Mental.
I know.
Absolutely mad.
Give us your sort of initial reaction.
I'm going to be honest, Ed, my heart was all over the place. So I had a very life admin filled day on the Saturday. So I wanted to just dive into the football head first, and that would be all that I would do. I didn't have the capacity to do that. However, I had the little when the score kind of pins up on your phone, and so I check it, and it was 1-0, and I just went, right, that's the end of that. I was like, that's okay, fine. I'm not gonna look at my phone.
It's the end of my afternoon.
It's the end of my afternoon, and then my phone kept pinging just constantly at the score, and yeah, honestly, I was blown away. I was blown. Just entertaining football, just end-to-end stuff. Yeah, it was madness.
Well, can I pick you up on this because
help yourself.
I've read a couple of things. You just said entertaining there. I read a match report that called it entertaining. I read a different report that said really great game. I watched a good chunk of it, like the extended highlights. I thought it was one of the worst games of football in terms of quality. I'm talking about the defending here, Joe.
Sure.
It was shocking.
Was awful.
But
Now,
in terms of entertaining,
well,
that's what you want, right?
Okay, but I mean, come on. Like, we were talking about being at the circus last weekend, Joe, and I felt like some of that defending from both Brighton and Chelsea was just absolutely shocking. What was the deal with that high line of Brighton?
It's what they do.
Yeah, but there's high lines and then there's that, right?
And the whole team didn't really understand it. Like afterwards, as they were talking, the Brighton players were like, "Oh yeah, I'm not sure what we were doing there. Like I don't know how we were going to keep that up."
I think there's something as well at the moment. Everyone's playing out from the back. It's
the thing.
Gary Neville had a bit of a moan about this on Saturday. Of course he did. Every team's playing out the back now, and you're going to see mistakes because no one wants to get it long anymore, do they?
That's what Chelsea realised really quickly. A quick ball over the top and we're in. And they were in every time. It could have been 7-8-0.
It probably should have, to be fair.
It probably should have been. And I think, like, apart from the Cole Palmer free kick, I was sort of writing notes as I was watching it because that's the kind of football fan I am now. Nice. Apparently, doing this podcast, I just thought there's no real quality, and actually you could argue Chelsea's finishing, considering how many chances they had, could have been better. And I just wrote non-league stuff on my notes. You know,
of course you did.
Am I being unfair here? What do you think, Joe?
It's hard to tell with Chelsea, isn't it? I think they're quite good. Whisper it quietly. But I think they're in the title race this year.
See, my younger brother keeps saying that, and it's super exciting to hear, but I don't want to agree with him just because it's too painful. It's too painful to agree and say anything near to that. And so I stray far away, and I'm like, Silas, no, please don't say that. Not around me, at least. I can't take it.
Yeah, no, I can't see it.
But it's just all working. You know, the midfield looks solid. You've got these wingers that are playing well, and you can bring other wingers off the bench, strikers that... It all just seems to be working, and it feels quite uncomfortable.
Let's move on to the other 4-2 game of the weekend. Yes. Arsenal-Leicester.
Yes, this took a last-minute goal.
It did.
To win it. Two last-minute goals.
I was going to say a last-minute 2 goals.
It was 2-2 until stoppage time. Wow. James Justin... Did you see his second goal?
What a finish. This reminded me a lot of Pavard's goal in the 2018 World Cup with sort of outside of the foot and it sort of curled in.
Very satisfying.
Very, very satisfying to watch.
Yeah. Arsenal obviously beat Leicester, made it more difficult than it was, and Liverpool beat Wolves in an unconvincing win. And I think you often hear this phrase of, oh, these are the games you have to win. Like, to play badly and win is a sign of a champion.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true anymore. I think Man City have set the bar so high that you have to be good and you have to win.
The overall quality of the Premier League has gone up so dramatically that if you don't play well, you won't win.
And I think it's ridiculous that we're in game week 6 and talking about how Arsenal could drop points here and it's detrimental to the title. Like, that's never been a thing before.
Yeah, you can't tell that early on. Like, you know after Christmas, don't you? You've at least got to give it till then.
But it's the bar that City have set.
And you know I love a goalkeeper, Joe.
Famously.
They're useful, to be fair. They are useful.
We've got to shout out Hermansen for Leicester. Yeah. What a performance. Right up there with Thibaut Courtois against Liverpool in Champions League.
Do you think it was?
Oh, it is
conceding 4 goals.
Yeah, but what a game he had. He had a
great game. I was quite upset that I took him out of my fantasy league team. And Everton got their first win of the season. Did you watch this?
Yes. And you know what? I was really happy for them because we've sort of slightly taken the mick out of them, I think, maybe. I think, and what we've said, I think, for the last sort of few weeks is that they have shown quality. It's just not been quite there. And for me, they really, like, they started to get it going, didn't they? And it's that thing of, like, Dyche knows what he's doing. He knows how to get the most out of a team.
It's been quite a good week for Everton, hasn't it? They've had this takeover almost go through, and I think everyone's feeling quite positive about them. 1 win under their belts, and suddenly everyone's saying, oh, they'll stay up, they'll be fine. It's just what Sean Dyche does.
Yeah, he's gritty enough to just kind of not be, brought down by, like, some obviously painful results, but he's just like, look, give me a minute, let me sort it out, let me clean up, and then we're back. You know, we're back on the bandwagon. It'll be okay.
Can I share my favourite stat of the weekend? Last 15 Premier League games, Manchester United have 19 points. Everton have 21.
Gosh, goodness.
Last 15 Premier League games.
Wow. You mentioned Liverpool Wolves.
I did. Yes.
Let's not dwell too much on Liverpool. Uninspiring win, do you think?
Yeah. Just one of those you have to get through. Difficult place to go. I think Jota was lucky to escape a red. He did a challenge on Mario Lemina that is borderline. But yeah, got the job done. Ryan Gravenberch in the midfield has been an absolute revelation this season.
And there's been a lot discussing Wolves. They've had an insane opening 6 games. So their first 6 games were Arsenal away, Chelsea at home, Nottingham Forest away, Newcastle at home, Villa away, Liverpool at home.
It's not pretty, is it?
It's 1 point from those 6 games, but to be fair, you'd probably write most of them off anyway.
And it's not getting easier for them. They've got Brentford, Brighton and City in the next 3 games.
It's just the Premier League, isn't it, Joel?
It actually is. I don't think there is such a thing as sort of like a walk in the park anymore. You know, even with Ipswich, you know, they drew to Villa and they were like, and the goals were fantastic. And so it's like, you know, I don't think you can let your guard down going anywhere, to be fair. And I like that a lot. Obviously, it's tricky as, you know, just as a football fan when your team isn't doing it 100%. But like, it's good to see. I think it's great for the you know, for the middleman who's just wanting to see good football played. Really, I think it's great. I think it's great stuff.
And you mentioned there, Joe, about Jota not getting a red card. Somebody who did get a red card at the weekend was Bruno Fernandes.
He did. What do you think?
Shambles, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
Never a red card.
It's not a red card, but I think it was a high challenge, and I think because the ref...
Here he goes.
Here he goes, picking the bias.
The resident Liverpool fan, well, actually...
No, I'm saying it's not a red, but because the ref has given it on the field, I don't think you can overturn it.
Okay.
I think because there is high contact on his leg, I don't think you can overturn that. But if he'd given a yellow, I think it's not turned into a red.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was silly. Come on, like, you're a professional, you paid all this money, and I know that he slips, but he slips and then he lifts his foot up. Like, come on, like, well, you know, what are you doing? I don't think it was a red. I think it was more like practicality that it was. I don't think the result would have changed that much, to be honest. I think it still would have probably been 2 or 3-0. I don't think United were looking dangerous at all, and I think Tottenham were going to win it either way. But it's just unfortunate then, because then, you know, the whole team's on the back foot, and that's actually, like, did you see this? So like, Bruno afterwards, he offered to speak to the media. He was like, I actually want to say some things, and he basically said, look, I'm sorry, I let my team down there. I don't think it was a red, but I understand that I kind of messed up. And so I was like, okay, you know, fair play, I back that.
Yeah, I rate that, because I think it's so often you don't see a red carded player get interviewed. Like,
yes,
I saw that and I thought, oh, that's interesting.
I can't remember the last time I saw that.
So I rate that he's done that.
One of the reasons we wanted to get you into the studio to chat with us, Joel, is that we wanted to have a bit of a longer look at Chelsea, alongside looking at Man United as well. Now, these are 2 clubs who are having different seasons and they're in different moments. But where I would sort of bunch them together is 2 huge clubs who've got incredible histories and particularly have really successful recent pasts. You know, it was when I was younger, in the sort of, you know, in the sort of 2000s, 2010s, Man United, Chelsea, they were the 2 sort of footballing powerhouses, and they are not in that place anymore.
Not at all.
And so I thought it could be really interesting to sort of chat about the expectations of these so-called big clubs, and to just talk about the expectations we put on teams to just be incredible forever. In the last few years, United and Chelsea have played like mid-table teams, but we don't treat them like mid-table teams. So what's sort of your take on Chelsea and where they are as a club at the moment in broader terms? Yeah,
I think it's interesting. I do agree with you that I think on the whole, when you take a bit of a step back, that United and Chelsea are in a similar sort of boat. I think we're starting to see glimmers of hope, really, for Chelsea, where it's like, okay, actually, things are starting to work, and it has been a mess of going through so many managers, so many players, and a lot of it being up in the air, that actually it's kind of starting to level itself out a little bit now. there's been a lot in terms of like why it hasn't been working. I think a lot of it has just been like the passion just seems to have been taken out. And you know that there was the couple seasons when, you know, like when Lampard was in and there was the ban, and then we brought up, you know, all of these like youth players, and you know you've got these guys now like, you know, Tomori, I mean Mason Mount, who has had better years, you know, Tammy Abraham, and all of these guys are like, these are players now, these are serious ballers. And that was quite an exciting time. And then the transition out of that was very stark. And I think the problem is that, you know, obviously it was fantastic to win the Champions League. And, you know, that was incredible. I've never lost my voice so badly as I had that night. Like it was incredible. I remember it clear as day. It was a beautiful memory. But I think off the back of that, there was almost like, oh, okay, somehow we can still do this. And I just don't think we could, and it's kind of trailed off from there. But for Chelsea, there is still that expectation. There's almost that, you know, that thing, it's in our veins where it's like, yeah, you know, we are still like, we are still a top 6 club, even if we're not getting the results. And so I think it does put a lot of pressure on the players, because then the fans get frustrated, and then, you know, they start saying stuff, you know, like this person out, or just, you know, get rid of them, they're rubbish. And as soon as that gets into circulation, you know, it is so negative and so detrimental that the players then don't want to do anything brave or slightly flary, because they're like, well, if I mess up, it's, you know, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And so then all of the passion and all of the excitement is taken out of the game, because they're just like, well, I'm playing for my life here, and not in a good way. So I think it's sad, to be honest. It is sad. Like I've disconnected a little, I'd say, over the last couple of years, just because I'm like, I don't really like the way that the energy of the club and how the fans are treating the club. I was like, I don't really want to be involved with that, and it's clearly having an effect. So I took a bit of a step back, to be honest, and now I'm just creeping my toe back in again, because I'm like, oh, Cole Palmer, oh, thank you, yeah.
So that's an interesting point. That whole connection thing, you know. You mentioned winning the Champions League just a few seasons ago. If you look at Chelsea right now compared to then, so many different players. Obviously, you've had a number of different managers. You've even had different owners since then. Like, how do you maintain that connection with a club if there's so much change in such a short space of time?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if you really can. Like, you've got to be so open to that change. You've got to be so willing to let, you know, these players into your heart and be like, you know what, okay, you're a blue, I'm ready for you to show me how good you are. But you can't have a soft spot for anyone at the moment in the team, because you're like, well, they're going to be gone tomorrow.
Don't get attached.
So you don't get attached at all. And that was hard, because, you know, I think when I was really getting into football, and it was my dad who, you know, like really was he's just a blue through and through, you know, he bled it, and I loved that. And you could, you know, you loved the players, you loved the club, because there was just consistency. You're like, look, I know this person's going to be around for ages. So it's like, and then so to not have that now is really, really hard.
Well, I think that's just the reality of football these days, isn't it? You know, the player that's you know, kissing the badge after scoring a goal in the next transfer window could be gone when a slightly better offer comes in. There's a moment, you know, in your football life where you realise, okay, it isn't the players. I can't get connected to the players. I'm connected to something bigger than that. It's the history. It's the fans. It's the stadium. It's the kit colours. I don't know, you know, and that's just something that is just part of the game these days. But I think particularly to touch on Man United, because I think Man United are in a place where they're a few years behind Chelsea. For me, I feel like Chelsea have had that collapsed, and then they've sort of stabled the ship, and now they're looking to push on and maybe get back. United are in the middle of that free fall at the moment.
In the depths,
and there's a lot of people, a lot of fans looking around going, this isn't the Man United I remember.
Last couple of seasons, United have had a bad game. You'd have a lot of pundits being like, but this is Manchester United. Like, but what does that mean? I don't think we're very good at looking at where they are right now. Like, what does it mean to be Manchester United at the moment? At the moment, realistically, it means you're a mid-table club.
Well, that's it. And they don't have a team, for me, they don't have a quality of squad that shows them to be much better than a mid-table team. You know, yes, they could put a great run together and they could challenge for the title, but so could Aston Villa. And actually, you know, Aston Villa is a really good example. We were chatting about this before we turned the mics on, and our UCB colleague Helen Lee overheard and
got very involved.
And because she was saying she's a Villa fan, and she was saying quite rightly so, we are having an amazing season, have had an amazing couple of years, but because we're not one of the big clubs, people are hardly talking about it. They'd much rather talk about the decline of United than a rise of an Aston Villa. I think she's absolutely spot on.
But it's this whole thing of the big six, isn't it? Like, what makes a club big six? And you could argue it's the money, right? Because a lot of the narrative here is that Chelsea have spent over £1 billion
Ridiculous.
Since the new owners. United have spent £690 million under Ten Hag. So it's that's setting them apart from smaller clubs, and that's why the expectation is so high for them to deliver, because realistically, like, the narrative is, oh, you spend this money, you should be winning the title, you should be challenging up at the top, but that's not realistic. If you spend the money in the wrong place, it's not going to get you far.
Where my issue with is the speed, the expectation of how quickly that money is going to make a difference.
Yeah.
Because you spend the money, and in the long term, give you a couple seasons, it's like, right, you can sort that out because you figure out you have the players and you have the base level quality, and then you get the chemistry sorted and you kind of weave it into who they are as players. And I think the problem is that with the owners, basically, of especially United and Chelsea, like, they don't see it like that. It's very much like, oh, I put the money in and I get the prize right there 10 seconds later. It's like, football's not like that.
It's not how it works.
It's not how it works at all.
We want that instant success, don't we?
I think so.
And actually, you look at it, obviously the most famous example of this is Fergie's first few seasons at United. They were terrible.
Yeah.
He had a really bad start to his managerial career. But they stuck with him, and he's gone on to be the most successful manager in Premier League history. But we're not like that anymore. We don't give the same amount of time as we did back then.
Yeah, no, it's brutal.
And I think, like, looking at this, especially with Chelsea and the money they've spent, Abramovich spent around $2 billion when he was in charge of Chelsea. And he was there until 2022.
Yeah,
and that
so
was
just shy of 20 years.
$2 billion. Now, I know that football and the price of everything has gone up, Just look at a loaf of bread. But
go on then.
Okay, Grandpa.
It's crazy. But in comparison, since Todd Bowley took over, he spent $1.2 billion.
Yeah.
So he spent
terrifying.
over half already what Abramovich did in 2
like
seasons.
a tenth of the time.
Yeah, exactly. What we think is money equals instant success, and it doesn't. It's been shown time and time again that it doesn't. But it's us, the fans, who are crying out for the money. When a new owner comes in or a new manager comes in, what do we want? We want new players. We want them to spend money on new players, and it happens, and then it doesn't pay off immediately, and we go, right, let's get a new manager in. Not that I'm blaming fans, but I think it's just a natural.
It's a cycle, isn't it?
Yes.
You get owners, money, let's make a statement signing. Oh, that hasn't worked. Sack the manager, get a new one in.
And I think it just ruins the camaraderie and the family feel of a football club, which is like what it certainly can be, and I think what it should be as well, because you're all gathering. We are so involved and we're so passionate about it. And when that's taken away, it's more detrimental to the club than, I think, like, a ridiculous amount of things happening, then players leaving, managers going, injuries, whatever. I think that is one of the most detrimental things that can happen to a club if the passion and the family feel is taken out of it, because I think, what are the players playing for?
Yeah,
exactly.
A paycheck. This is the $1 million or maybe $1 billion question.
Nice.
Ten Hag, should United get rid? Should they give him more time? What are your thoughts, Joel? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see who would step in. I back him more than I back the players. Yeah, I think they should keep him unless there's someone nice on the horizon. I reckon keep him.
Joe?
It's a difficult question for me, Ed, because I'd like him to stay forever. No, I honestly think if you'd asked me a couple of weeks ago, I'd be in, keep him, because I think there's a lot of potential there. He's had a rocky start. He's had a lot of situations out of his control. But now I think, and I know United fans aren't going to like this, I think Southgate is a good shout.
Well, I was just going to say, when you said unless there's somebody nice coming in, I think ultimate Mr. Nice, Gareth Southgate.
But I think he's someone, what's needed at United is a culture shift.
Yeah,
right?
That's good.
Everywhere. Good. And the manager you speak about being good at overseeing that over the last few years is Gareth Southgate.
Yeah.
You see what he did with the England squad at a time of real turmoil. He's brought everyone together and excited about England again.
Yeah.
That's exactly what United need.
Now, for the listeners who know that we are people of faith, and they might be thinking, is there any kind of faith application to this?
Sure, we can find one.
No. But I think it is interesting because actually, like, one thing that the Bible talks a lot about is seasons, and about how the way that God designed the world, God designed the earth, the universe is seasonal. There are good seasons, bad seasons. There's a Bible verse in Ecclesiastes that says there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot. And I think, like, obviously, that is not talking about football. Let's be clear.
Just make that clear. Really
let's be clear. You know, a time for rebuilding, a time for investing in the youth. But what that does speak about is the cyclical nature of life. There are good years, there are bad years. City will not be the team they are now forever. You know, it could be another 5 years, 10 years, it could be 20. But at a certain point, they will go through the dip that every team does. And I think that it is just something to sort of keep our perspective. You're in a great mood at the moment because Liverpool are in a good position.
Sure.
You know, but when your club is going through the doldrums,
yeah,
how does your faith, like, do you just go, oh, it's fine, doesn't matter, it's football? Because that's not how I feel. Like, when Stoke lose, that ruins my weekend.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's actually something that I've worked on the last few seasons, and my wife will testify to this. If Liverpool, like, a couple of seasons ago, if Liverpool lost a big game, it would genuinely affect my mood. If they won in the last minute, I'd be on top of the world, and I'd feel great about life. And it is important to have that perspective, isn't it? That actually, this isn't the whole world. This is something. It's a hobby, Ed, isn't it?
It is. And I think, like, maybe if you're like me and you've supported a team that for the most part it's been miserable and dull and boring and depressing, that actually when the good moments come, yeah, it's great. It will not last.
Yeah.
Be
ready.
That's genuinely how. There was a moment, the 2011 FA Cup final that Stoke got to and lost. There was a moment during the national anthem and the Abide With Me and all of that I did pinch myself and I go, this is great. And I just immediately went, this will not last forever.
Aww.
You know, sure enough, a few years later, we're back where we belong.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think perspective is incredibly important, you know, because like the part of the thing that makes football and, you know, and life something that is the ups and the downs, you know, and you have those high moments and they give you hope for the low moments. And like we were saying with the last couple of years of me just kind of maybe just disconnecting a bit because I just allowing myself to just have that bit of space to breathe, because it is something that we can get incredibly passionate about, and I think that's okay. I don't think that's a bad thing. But I don't know. Like, I was reading my Bible just the other day, and it was saying, you know, God says, I'm the beginning and the end, and I'm the same throughout. And it's like, oh, okay, actually, that is good. That even though, like, I may go up and down, and my emotions may waver or that kind of thing. Actually, you know, God's still there for me in the middle of it. And even though football may go really well and then really badly, it's like, you know, God's still there for me in that. And I think that's just something that is good to remember. And sometimes we do just need to take a bit of a step back and realize, okay, yeah, right now it may feel terrible. We may have had like 75 bad results in a row, but it's okay. Perspective is it's a game changer, really. It is a game changer.
Some things never change. The grass is always green. The sky is always blue. And Sean Dyche will not get relegated.
Preach it. So we've had a lot of chat about Chelsea and United in this episode. Now, someone who is, I'm sure, very dear to both supporters of that team is Jose Mourinho. Well, Jose is still knocking about.
Still doing it.
In the Turkish Super League.
Still doing his thing. Still the special one.
He still is the special one, still the centre of attention over there. He is the manager of Fenerbahce. And yesterday, they won 2-0. But they had a goal disallowed that was fairly contentious.
And I bet he wasn't happy about that.
You know, Jose, he just shook it off, he moved on.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. What he did is, it was ruled out with VAR. Now, his assistant has his own camera that he uses to analyse the games. He managed to find a still of where the ball was played and his player was onside.
Okay.
So in true Jose style, he got that still on his laptop and he put it right in front of a TV camera for everyone to see that the goal was onside.
I love that. Not take the laptop and show it to the ref.
Show the world.
No, you want to show the world. That's a very Jose response.
After already winning as well, it wasn't as if it like made the result any different. I love that.
And he of course did get booked.
Of course. I feel like that's a booking that we surely can all agree on.
Yeah.
Again, lovely to see that some things never change.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we are going back to our trivia section. So I'm going to read the question out again. Remember, this is a guess the player, but the difference is that the first name of this player will also be the name of a book in the Bible. So the question is, there have only been 5 outfield players to play every minute of a Premier League winning season. They are Gary Pallister, Wes Morgan, Cesar Azpilicueta, Branislav Ivanovic, and which other player? Joel, have you got any thoughts? Are you struggling? He looks like he's struggling.
I am struggling. I feel like it's going to be someone called Mark.
Okay.
That screams me as soon as you said the question. Can I get a half point if it is a Mark?
Hedge your bets.
I'll give you a half point if it's a Mark.
I don't think it's going to be.
Joe, any thoughts?
Oh, it's a tricky one, this Ed. I think you've caught me out. I'm going to go with another Chelsea defender.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with John Terry.
Okay,
I feel like
talk me through it.
I just feel like obviously he is a Premier League winner.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking back to the Jose days. He feels like someone who has had a season where he's played every single minute, and he might have won it. So I'm going to lock in John Terry.
You're locking in John Terry?
Yeah.
It's correct!
No way. What a guy.
Well
Surely I should have got that. What on earth? Wow. Well
What
done.
a moment that is, by the way.
Yeah, good stuff. Well done.
Well done. 3 of them are Chelsea players. Wow.
And that's 4-1.
4-1. I'm happy with that.
Oh, my
I'm
goodness.
delighted.
I thought you wouldn't get that.
Well, I did as well.
Yeah, well done. Before we go, Joe,
Yeah.
we've had some more correspondence.
Some more. Goodness me.
We've had an email come in after the last episode into the email address podcast@ucb.co.uk from a lovely Joel Brown.
I was hoping it was going to be me.
Shall I read out the email from Joel?
Oh, please do.
He tells us he loves the pod, do you?
I do. I really do.
Good.
I really do.
Genuinely didn't see this before we invited him on. He says, from last week's pod talking about favourite could also be most painful disallowed goals, can we talk about the Frank Lampard 2010 goal at the South Africa World Cup?
Painful moment.
It was
painful.
very painful,
So
wasn't it?
painful.
Do you remember where you were, Joel, when that went in?
Well, I actually went to the World Cup in South Africa.
Really?
Sadly, I was not at that game, but I went there with my dad. It was an incredible experience. The vuvuzelas and the stadium and the whole energy of South Africa was like second to none. It was beautiful. So yeah, I was in the country.
The thing that makes that goal right up there with most painful is it's the snapshot of Frank when he realizes that it's not allowed.
Heartbreaking.
It's that with his hands behind his head, looking like you have just
broken his heart.
Broken his heart.
Such a good kit as well that they're in as well. It's just it's so
he's
hard
on the
to
verge
see.
of tears, and we all wept with you, Frank, when that one didn't go in.
Well, thank you for listening to the Big Man Up Top, and thank you, Joel, for joining us.
Thank you so much
Debut
for having
episode.
me.
How do you think it's gone?
Oh, swimmingly. It's been great. Yeah.
We'll have him back.
A decisive win, 3-0. Yeah, it's felt like a good result today. Yeah.
3-0. And where can people hear you on the regular?
So I'm on UCB1 Monday to Friday, 7 till 10, and I'm also on Sunday from 5 till 8. Come and hang out. It'll be a great time. I've got plenty of stuff coming up on the show. So yeah.
Love that. Well, that's all we have time for. If you want to get in touch with the show, please ping us an email to podcast@ucb.co.uk. Please follow, subscribe, give us good reviews. Joel, have you left us a review?
5-star.
Thank you so much. Also, if you've enjoyed it, please tell your mates. A huge thank you to our producer, Anthony Salamat-Webb, for all his hard work behind the scenes. And also a thank you to James Letts, who's done a bunch of great work for this episode.
There will be a new episode next Tuesday. So we'll see you next week.
See you then.
Bye, Joe.
Bye.